Morning. Welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I know you're sneaking that in there real fast now.
I know, before you have a chance. That's the whole thing.
Like, I'm gonna get her.
We could talk about the weather and everything. It's beautiful outside.
Oh
We
my
had
God.
a rainstorm last night. It feels like we're in a fall, and it's like, what is going on? I've got a long sleeve shirt on.
I have a t-shirt on. I got the windows open too. It's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, that storm. I woke up last night. I was laying there. I'm like, is it raining? And then this bright light, and then a clap of thunder. I was like, yep.
Oh yeah, there was lots of good thunder.
So I had to get up and go look out the windows. Well, at what was it, 1:15 this morning? I was like, what? It was bright. It was so bright, that lightning.
That's cool. I saw 222, but I mean, it didn't wake me up till then. And I'm like, oh God, I got to go close up the cat house because I had it open and I didn't want water going in there.
Yeah. We're talking about fur babies, right?
We are too. Yes, we are. Thanks for the clarification.
Just want to clarify that for the people listening.
Our cats have their own place because we have dogs that chase the cats and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, they've got their own special place.
So make sure you're not holding the title of Madame or something weird like
Well, I could be, yeah.
Past life, maybe?
Well, that's very possible. I would not be surprised, honestly.
I know somebody who had a reading whose past life had to do with pleasing men, like in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, that was my best life ever. Said, you go, girl.
There you go. That's funny.
Oh goodness. So I'm good. Saturday, one of my deeper wounds of healing has been the experience of being molested and not really stepping into that topic. And Saturday I did. So I'm in this business program and it's structured, and I'm not used to structure when I'm teaching. And it's a certain type of structure. And so I utilize that program to step into the topic was 3 keys for sexual trauma recovery. And if you've been in my class, I don't do a deep dive into the issue. I want to get you on the other side, right? So that's what I was focused on. I want you to get into more of your joy. And so that's the side that I brought to that experience. But to step into that topic specifically was, it felt good that I was able to do that in I'm not saying the topic is light, but it was lighter in me. And there was a twinge of emotion that came up, but it didn't have to do with the experience of molestation, which was interesting. I was like, ooh, still got a little wound there. So, but the information that I had to share, that was the easy part, right? I've been doing that for years. It was following the structure that was awkward. And so I was just like, but here's the thing. It was the first of many. And I like their structure. I like what was brought to it, some of the pieces that were brought to it, which I will implement because I find it very valuable in their process. It was the first of many. So the more I practice, the better I get. And that's what we do with life, right? The things we learn in life. We figure out what works, what resonates, we implement it. We practice because we're going to have a lot of opportunity to practice with life experiences, and then we get better. And the better we get at it, the easier it gets, the more ease and flow there is in life. And when I stepped into doing this class, knowing I was going to be following this structure, this format, I just took a breath and I was like, you know what? It's just practice. Even though I had some people there that I didn't know, it was practice. And I was okay with it. I was like, And, you know, in my previous years, it would have been, it's not safe to do this. People are going to judge me and criticize me if I don't follow the format. You know, it's that little person inside, like, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not going to be good enough at this. And I've witnessed, this is interesting because I've witnessed there's like almost 200 people in this program that we're doing, learning it, right, in this group. And there's been a handful that have taken the response. You know, some people, they just bow out and they're just very silent. They watch from the background and don't participate much and then bow out, right? Don't follow through with the program. Some people, there's been a handful of people that have said, listen, I don't feel like I'm ready for this. And I'm not prepared to do my class. And, you know, they're just owning up to it, but still bowing out. And the amount of support that the women in this group have given those people has been awesome, like amazing. And we're like, listen, when you're ready to do your class, let us know. We'll attend, we'll support you, we'll be there for you. And so that I just found very beautiful in the support. And it's all women, all of it, it's all women. And that's been something I've had to learn to step into as well, is feeling safe with other women, because we've talked about before, it's not been it's not really not been my desire to be in women's groups or specifically women classes, right? Because of that judgment and criticism that shows up so much, which was from childhood, and then very prevalent in the junior high school era of the bitchiness and the talking behind the back and backstabbing and all that stuff. So to feel safe to be in just women groups, like the organization that I'm in, that's been a process. That's been a big process for me to feel safe enough to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's what I've been stepping through.
Nice.
So
That's a lot. That's a lot to, well, like right now, I would just tell you, even for me lately, it's been processes. Even if I'm not doing it into a structure like that, there's processes. I'm processing things, awareness, watching, you know, what my thoughts are. How am I responding to something? If I responded to something or reacted to it, that's interesting. Why did you react that way? You know, all these different things, which we've been talking about for weeks, which brings us all to awareness. It's awesome. The way that those triggers come forward is by us having life experiences. Life brings about those things to come forward again for us to deal with them. And because now we have the tools for it, because before we stuffed them down because we didn't have the tools to process it. We didn't know what to do with that information. And now, even without having all the tools or the toys, I feel like we still ask questions like, that's interesting. Like, how do I process that? And if I ask myself one way, like, oh, that's interesting. And then if I ask myself, well, how do I process that? Or how do I do this? And I don't feel like there's getting any resolve in it, then I start asking just different or more questions. Because then I do find it gets resolved. So it doesn't always get resolved with the first thing that I come up with, but I don't give up. I pursue that just to make sure that I'm relieving myself of these feelings and emotions, because it helps us to evolve. So here I am, Saturday, my first day off of the week. I think I worked 3 days last week, but I babysit. I don't babysit. It doesn't feel like babysitting. I have my granddaughter Mondays and Tuesdays, and I have my grandson on Friday. So I kind of fill up my day. So I'm off on Saturday and I'm like, well, it's nice outside, right? Overcast, it's cool outside. I'm in a sports bra and shorts doing weeds. Usually I will feel my back getting hot, and never felt it get hot. And then by that night, my back's flaming red, like flaming red. It's not hurting at all. So I'm like, okay. So I put on some cream on it to take the color down. Oh no, it didn't take the color down. It's red. It's very pissed off. And I'm like, God, what was that all about? And I know some of my thoughts. So because I have an awareness,
Yeah.
And then part of the thing I was just reading in the book when we first started this, because I'm like, I didn't look up sunburn. They didn't have sunburn, but they have burns. And really nothing really resonated with me in the conversation. And then it says burnout.
Mm.
Because I wasn't giving myself this space when I could have, because I felt, and I know why, it's like a worthiness thing. I felt like I got to be doing something, got to earn my keep. Not that I really have to earn my keep, because that's not the responsibility. I'm not made to feel that way. I made myself feel this way. So I'm out there and I'm going and going and going and not stopping. My body's like telling me already it's done. It's tired. My shoulders are burned out, everything, but ignoring it still. And then, so of course, I caused myself to have this burnout feeling. And now, of course, since yesterday or since Saturday, so Sunday, my sunburn started feeling pretty bad last night. And now it's just, it's just pissed off because I didn't honor myself. And it's not like, now it's not like, oh, boo hoo, you didn't honor yourself and step into a victim place. It's like, oh, okay, I could have listened. My body was telling me stuff and I was pushing past it, even though I knew already. So there was so much to be learned from all of that. It wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just burnout. It was, here I was again, back in an old pattern of pushing myself, which I'd go out and do the yard. I'd start in the morning and go all day long. My body would crash. I'd start getting all shaky. I'd run inside, eat some gushers, which are some not fruit by any means, but I would eat that because it would be a sugar, get my sugars back up, eat a protein, go back out and do the work. So just recognizing all this pattern, this old stuff, and it doesn't serve me. It's like, okay, I hear you now. I mean, I hear you and I'm listening. So it wasn't like, I mean, it could be a lot worse, really. Honestly, it could have been my whole body, but now it's just my back, just from the waist up. So, and looking at the secret language of your body, there's even more information. I could look up the whole back area. I could just look at back, how it's gonna, whatever resonates with me, and see how I respond to that. But really a lot of it's like, again, burnout. So it's like, because I'm leaning forward, I'm pushing, I'm doing, and instead it's to lean back, lean back onto the back, relax. And now, of course, if I sit still and don't move around a whole lot, it feels fine. It doesn't feel bad. So it's just all these little things, all these little messages. Our bodies are wonderful because they let us know all this information. If we even give a care to pay attention to it, to listen to it.
The back in general, just for our audience, is about support. Right. And so when you, at the very beginning, you said, I feel like I have to, but it's not being told to me that I have to.
Yeah.
Right. That's putting a pressure on you about your support. Does that make sense? Like, you're putting the pressure on yourself about
just, yeah. Which goes along kind of with independence, right? You think you got to be independent, you got to do these things, and it's just crazy. I know things. Well, we had a huge rattlesnake, a diamondback. He was a big guy. He's now been freed of his physical body, but just because he's out with our dogs and it's right next to our house, and my grandson, like, we're getting ready to walk up, we're getting ready to go sit down, and this is all the little things, and how just being in tune and paying attention. If I wasn't paying attention, I don't know if I would have noticed it. If it was quiet, I don't know if I would have noticed it, but we just happened to, like, let's just go over here and sit down for a minute. We were going to go to the cat house, but we decided we're going to take a break and go sit down on the steps for a minute. We went to go sit down, and then all of a sudden, here comes the rattling. And my dog, Pepper, my little dog, was like, she's like curious. I'm like, Pepper.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's not a good day for you to go, sweet pea. But just dealing with all that. And then, of course, yelling, Freeman, there's a snake out here. So he's came out and take care of it. But like I said, he was a big guy, but it's just paying attention to all that stuff. And that was little things. If I didn't go over there then, maybe one of the dogs would have gotten hurt, because it's always kind of played out that way. There just seems like there's always a reason. There's a reason for my back. It's not because from a victim standpoint, I'd be like, oh God, oh, my back. But from another perspective, it's like, oh, okay, here's some growth. I get some growth here. Here's a trigger that came up. It may not be a trigger like you had, an emotional trigger, but it's a physical trigger. It still was a physical trigger that also was related to the emotions.
Right.
Which brings me into another conversation, I was listening to Suzanne Giesemann, and she was in an interview, and she's talking about how her friend, I think, passed away in 2018, and how that friend came to her within, I don't know if it was within hours after her passing, but like came to her, spoke to her, she could hear her voice, you know, all these things. And she was talking to her, and within, I think, 2 weeks, I think she had channeled her, because she said, Brenda says, I want you to channel me, so that she could talk to all of her friends. So the reason I'm talking about that is because we talk about all this physical stuff, and she was dying of cancer. So she saw an amazing healer, and she was healed, but she was healed on an emotional level. She had so much to be healed, and that makes me think, or makes it's good for people to know, when we go to healers, which is still great, you may have not have gotten the healing to fix the body to stay here longer, because it was her time to go anyways. But it healed her emotionally, so that when she went, and she said it was like a blink of an eye. I blinked my eye, all of a sudden I'm in spirit. She says I could see everybody at one time. But because she said that healer healed her emotionally, that she was able to go in and do this. This was the purpose why. It wasn't about the healing the physical body. And I thought that was so amazing. And that just goes along with our conversation into this emotional. All the stuff that we're doing right now is freaking amazing. It makes me emotional, because there's so much that's being healed right now. And being a healer, you know, when you go in and you're healing someone, when they come in, I don't know, and you don't know what level that they've had a healing on. It may not even be something they recognize, but that's not up for us to decide. And it's not, and we might recognize things, but it's for the person to recognize. And then for the person that's going to the healer, know that you're being healed on some level. And we don't have to know what exactly that is. It could just be feeling better emotionally.
Yeah.
But she said it was such an easy transition. And that's why it's so valuable for us to look at these triggers, to be aware of ourselves, to love ourselves enough, because if our best friend was going through this stuff, we would stop and listen to our best friend. Our soul, this is our best friend. Like, this is our best friend. So it is to love and honor that, and to listen to what your soul needs and what it's guiding you to. You know, I'm so all over the place with things, and you know that with my conversations. I've always been. I've got 8 books down here. I've got 2 books right here. I've got 2 books sitting next to my chair out in the living room, with 2 freaking laptops, or 2, well, close enough. And I've got like 3 notebooks out there. So this is me. And then what do I hear this morning? It's talking about commitment, being committed to this, being committed to spirit, being committed to allowing this information to flow through me, to be that channel. No, it's being committed for anything. It's because things are, and it's coming naturally, that it seems like sometimes these things come so naturally that it's like, I'm going to go over here and do this, because it's like, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but it is that big of a deal. So it's honoring each one of those spaces. Like I said, I could go all over the place, because this is how it feels. It pulls me, and it's like, then I get pulled this direction. I get pulled this direction. So I just listen. But the listening part is part of the intuition. The listening part is part of the spirit communication. I'm sitting, even playing a game, and all of a sudden I know exactly when something's going to pop up. I just know. I feel it. Now I'm with that feeling. I'm discerning. Okay, that I felt that in my solar plexus. So now I'm honoring my body, because I'm listening to my body more, and I'm feeling where these nudges, where these directional pushes, I guess, are coming from. And it's like, oh, so then it's something else starts to come up, and I knew exactly when it was coming up every single time. So it's like everything that we're experiencing in life right now is an opportunity for our growth. Every single thing.
Yeah. There's so much I want to hit up on that you have said. So I'm going to be all over the place. So
Do it.
First of all, anytime an animal, or like the snake comes, birds, butterflies, right? I go look it up. What's spiritual meaning? So the serpent's meaning as a spirit animal is that of transformation and change. Few creatures embody the process of spiritual transformation so well as a snake, who must repeatedly shed its skin in order to grow. A snake is also a powerful healer and a symbol of death and rebirth. So I just wanted to share that, because I think that's amazing. And death
Totally
doesn't
resonated.
mean like leaving the physical body. It means dying to the old self. It's dying
Yeah.
to those limiting beliefs. It's dying to those unhealthy habits or behaviors or patterns. So that death can also be represented as you are a living being. It's just a metaphor for change, transformation. So isn't it interesting that the rattlesnake shows up for you, right? So when you're talking about Suzanne Giesemann's friend, her name is Brenda, that what came to my mind was Jerry Hicks and Jerry and Esther Hicks, that he also went and saw healers and that for before he transitioned. And in that experience, even Esther has talked about it, that it was a process of her having even a greater understanding that when somebody leaves the physical body here, that we're still connected. And so Jerry is still with her, still guiding her, still helping her, still asking the questions. And so that communication is still readily available with our loved ones. So I just wanted to hit up on those as you were talking. And also what Suzanne does the same. Suzanne Giesemann, she's done the same thing. It's like she's followed her intuition. Go read this book, turn this direction on the trail, go talk to this person. Like, it's been an intuitive guidance that she's has learned to listen to, and in that process has had amazing experiences because of it. I just watched a video of hers over the last yesterday, actually, an hour and a half video. I posted it in in one of my Facebook groups, that the synchronicities and her listening to the messages and the intuition. Wow. It's just like, this is so cool.
It is.
And if we did that more often, there would be so much ease in our life. And I was just like, so amazing. So amazing.
It is. It is. That's Wolf's message. I mean, that's where she really was following all the synchronicities, and she wrote her book about that.
Yeah.
Super awesome. But it happens for all of us all the time. That's the crazy thing. Unless you have an awareness of it, or unless you're in that space of delight going on this journey, you don't even recognize it. Then it's like, oh, another thing. No, maybe that wasn't the direction to go. And if you would just listen, it would guide you, and it's more with ease and flow. And how amazing is it that we could do our work and then come back and be there for that person immediately after transitioning, which shows you that they've never gone. That's an awesome experience. I know that I'm experiencing all this stuff. I don't know what's going to transition in my family, or who's going to transition, or how that works. I know that more will happen, probably before, not in a time frame that any person would want to happen. But I also know at the same point that I'm being guided on this journey, because it's honing those skills, so that I know that my Brenda or whoever is right there immediately. Yeah. And it depends on the person too. It's like it's not the same for everybody, because she's even talked about, like, Suzanne's even talked about her own mom's transition. So her mom, I think she said that she was alive for like the 8 years or I don't remember how long exactly, but it was a length of time that Suzanne was going through this process, because this was not her experience or her whole life. And her mom still didn't believe that there was going to be an afterlife. She was in meditation, Suzanne, and this is after her mom has transitioned, and she goes to her mom's bedside. She's like in a hospital, but she said it's the most beautiful place. And the guides tell her she still thinks that she's dreaming. So we're allowing her this space, because she wasn't ready for this. Now, you or I would be like, we'd be diving right in, like, what? Like, we'd be just like Brenda, because we'd be visiting everybody at one time. And how amazing is that?
Yeah.
Our beliefs have become so bottled and restricted into this tiny little place that's not even true. It's not, but that's not a bad thing or anything like that. This was part of the growth. This was the journey to get from being asleep to being awake. That's all. Yeah. This was that journey. And now we get to it's like getting all these gifts all over again that we've already had. These gifts are not separate from us. They're all right here. It's just like, oh, I turned on the light switch. Look what I found over there. I got telepathy over there. Holy smokes.
Right.
I got clairvoyance right over there. I mean, like I've got all these things. We have all these things, but we just haven't been aware of them. And I also like that Mavis Patilla talks about we're not missing something. So if you're on this journey and you're trying to figure out, like, I want to be clairvoyant or I want to do these things, it's just because I used to want to be all those things too. But I feel like that was my soul's way of letting me know these are the things that you're going to be doing. So that it created a desire for me, which was all. And it was all coming along all this way. But Mavis talks about it, an igniting of our soul, that it comes at a certain time, and it doesn't always come from birth, and it doesn't always come at the age of 12. Sometimes it comes at 50, sometimes it comes at 80. These things happen, our soul gets ignited, because that's exactly the right time for that to happen, because we've received enough information. We're at that right moment to be in that space. We're not missing out on things. So keep going on the journey, keep doing your things, and don't beat yourself up when it doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out. It's all, if you start looking at everything from different eyes, you know that everything has always been working out. Always.
It's all in relation to growth and expansion, transformation, change.
All of it. Exactly.
Yeah. And
So,
one of the things I've really come to admire about Suzanne Giesemann is that even though she's receiving information from her crew in spirit, which she calls Sanaya, and even Brenda, like she says, I want validation that this is you.
yeah.
Right. I want a sign that says that's going to confirm what you're telling me.
Yeah.
You know, and she does it all the time. It's not like she's been doing this for years and she stopped. She still asks for
Yeah.
validation.
She's an evidential medium, and that's what an evidential
Yeah.
medium is. It's like she said, she can tell anyone they're doing great on the other side. Oh, they're doing great.
Right.
They're so happy now.
Right.
Yeah. She said, you can't validate that.
But
Give
even
me
so, she does it for herself. The information she
yeah.
receives, she still asks for some kind of sign in physical
Yeah.
form to validate that they are coming through her. Just like
Yes.
you go
Every time. Even
Yeah.
Brenda. So even Brenda, she says, well, I know that you're Brenda. I know because I know. But she
Yeah.
says, you're not bringing forward any evidence. And she says something about, how do you like my boa? And she's like, what is this about? Like, she doesn't know what that means. So then she puts out this whole paragraph of information that she sends over to their friend Lynette. And she says that to her because she knows that she's going to send this to her, and Lynette's going to know what this means. And she says, oh my God, she loved Zsa Zsa Gabor. And then she had, yeah. And she said, when we shed our people skin. So we were talking about that last week, and I like that. Our
Here we go,
people
back
skin.
to the rattlesnake. Just saying.
Exactly. Well, that's true. So that's awesome. Well, I already told you that resonated with me. Now I totally resonate with me. But we're just shedding the people suit. And she said that's all that's happening right now. But she's talking about the boa, and she tells Lynette she says, I had her tell that story to me over and over and over again, even up to the time before she passed. So she says, yeah, that was her evidence. But she said that she had gone to New York to see Zsa Zsa. There was a play. She was in a play, and the billboard showed her wearing the farmer's overalls and stuff like that. She was so disappointed. And then she turned to walk, and she sees Zsa Zsa walking out of the side door. She's got her boa on, and she's dressed to the nines, like she's totally decked out. And it just made her life. And so she's always talked about that story over and over and over again. And
Nice.
she knew that her plan was, because she was already working on all this mediumship abilities beforehand. She wasn't practicing on it, like, she wasn't working with clients. She was, at least not that I'm aware of, she was just working on it for herself, just, testing everything, feeling everything, and having the experiences.
Yeah. What I like too is something I just heard her talk about, Suzanne Giesemann just talk about is, and we've talked about it in a different way, is that the closer we come into let's see, how am I going to word this? The more we close the gap between our human side and our spiritual side, right? And we meaning, when I say close the gap, meaning we're not so much into our ego that whatever's happening in reality, that's it. And, the people's behaviors and the way, they talk and and the things that they do, like we get so hung up on the drama. So when we start to shed that layer and close the gap between our humanness and our spiritual source, that we step more into our spirituality, even in the human body, that we start to light up, like our light gets brighter. And she was talking about how she was receiving a message from from Sanaya, that even in the chaos that may be happening, that you may be perceiving as chaos, that more people are getting brighter in their physical body because they're closing that gap. My words, not hers. And it is lighting up more around the world. And one way that I see that is happening more and more is when people transition, what the first thing a human wants to know is, are they okay? So then they seek out a medium, and then they get that evidential information that yes, they're still right here. Yes, they can still communicate with you. You got to communicate. You can communicate with them, and you just have to learn how to. And people start to embrace that. That's lighting them up, right? And so I was like, yeah. And it's happening in other scenarios as well. But what I find it's happening, my focus is that it really is happening a lot with people who have had friends or family transition back to spirit, because they want that connection. They want to know they're okay. They want to know that they're happy and that they're no longer in pain. They're no longer suffering from whatever earth life they had. And once they get that validation, like that allows their own spirit, as in a physical body, to shine a little brighter. It might not be like full wattage, but it's shining a little brighter because they've had that, like you said, evidential information come through that they're still here. They're still with us. They're still okay. So I like that.
I like that. Yeah,
we're starting.
We are, and even they said, even when we're grieving and stuff, we're shining light, but we can become brighter and brighter and brighter. And as you were saying, closing that gap between our ego and our soul, that's the thinning of the veil. There is no veil, because we're not living under the premise that we're just this people suit.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing.
And the more people that do it, the higher the vibration of the planet, not only physical people, but the planet raises.
Yes. Yeah.
And then what happens is change, more transformation, more transformation, the more change.
Exactly. And there's evolution. Evolution happens here in our physical world, We got to have the quotes up there. And then and the same with the non-physical, though, they're evolving too. They don't just go over and not do anything else. That was one of the things that she had, I think she was channeling either Jesus or Sanaya recently on one of the things I listened to. And she says, we are evolving basically just as you are. It would be silly for them not to evolve and for us to evolve. We're all evolving together.
Yeah.
We're all helping each other. We are so much more valuable than we give ourselves credit for, because we're helping this evolution.
Yeah.
Throughout, and so are they, because they're helping us. They're here along with us this whole way. Our guides are there along with us for this whole journey.
And as the years pass, that I just heard her say recently that her team said that Sanaya said, well, you're no longer in the dark ages, you're in the dim ages. So it's like we got better, and there's still more progress, but you know what, we've evolved, right? We've gotten better. And that's, if we continue on that path, it's, who knows what's going to happen. It's going to be, I feel it's going to be amazing in its own right. I mean, it's been amazing in what we've witnessed over the years. in our
Yeah.
lifetime. So
And don't you notice more and more that we're on this journey, the more exciting it gets?
mhm.
Because even if you were to listen to us from like 2 years ago, or even a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago, seriously, there's been such a change in so many ways. And getting to the space now where, like you were saying, you're even going into this meeting and you're talking, having this conversation, and you're saying things that, you're just seeing things from a different way, and it's kind of out of your comfort zone in some ways because it's new ways of doing it, which I would have been one of those people like, I'll see you guys later. I'm not about structure, not in this kind of way, because that's not how I receive my information at this time. So kudos to you for, but for even having the desire, because that also, and for everybody, honestly, because each person's honoring themselves. Well, they're not ready, or maybe this wasn't the path for me after all. And then you're recognizing that you're feeling joy, and this is something that's awesome for you. This has been we've had conversations off the camera and even on, talking about how you can feel this is like a perfect direction for you. This feels so good. This is the next step up for you. This is how it feels. This is part of the progression. This is part of your journey on your path, which I find amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's just leaning into it.
Yeah.
Actually, let me tell you, when I started, because it's a 9-week program, we still have another week or two left. And when we started creating our talk title, it was actually going to be based around recovering from depression related to sexual trauma. So the focus was going to be depression.
Okay.
And as you put it into the group, and the group, they gives you feedback and stuff. And there's coaches, there's a handful of coaches that are in the program that help us and give us feedback. And it ended up 3 keys for sexual trauma recovery. And I had to feel into that. And I had to take, I had to breathe into it and be, am I okay with this title?
Yeah.
It wasn't the topic. It wasn't the idea that I was going to be talking about sexual trauma. It was just simply, am I okay with this title?
Yeah.
I had to sit with it. And I was like, yeah, I can step into this space and I'm okay.
Yeah.
So
well, the other one seems like, like you said, the other one seems like, if you're talking about depression, that kind of takes away from what you would have been talking about. That would have made it more comfortable for people when they come to listen to it, you would think, right?
Yeah.
Maybe rationalize almost in that way, because otherwise, if you're the keys to, the way that you're saying it now your people, if you have a class on that, people are showing up, everybody's showing up, that they've all dealt with this, whether it's happened to them or they've had an experience of being a parent or whatever. Everybody's had this experience. So everybody that comes in there is like, they cannot hide underneath anything either, which
right.
that's awesome. Because that even shows you where your clientele is at, to be able to work through this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you want. So that's kind of like you choosing your clients at the same time, because these people are willing to step into this place and they're willing to learn something different that's going to help them evolve from this situation, their experiences.
Yeah. And I had 16 people register for it.
Nice.
For a first time stepping in, I was good with that.
Yeah, no, that's
Sometimes
awesome.
you want a smaller group to just, I'm kind of uncomfortable doing this format, but I'm going to do it anyway. And just having a smaller group makes it a little more comfortable. And then, the more I practice, the better I get, which means my energy shifts about it, right? Gets better and better,
Yes.
which means it's going to open me up even more. Because when I have, and this goes for everybody, when you have reserves, restrictions, some fear, awkwardness, frustration, right, that kind of closes your energy from attracting the people you want. So the more I practice it, more comfortable and confident I get with this process, the more I open up. And then there's just more ease. And the more I open up, the more people, it's like opening the gates. right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
open, right now the gate's open a little, 16 people could get in. But
Yes.
next time, what if it's 50 or 100, right? Because I'm leaning into it and opening my heart and opening my I just keep opening my arms. Like I'm just opening up that gate so more people can come in, because I feel more confident in myself and in doing that process, or even just implementing the pieces that I like into my process.
Yes.
But it's still a change, and it's still something to get used to in following a little bit different layout. Right. So
And I
just,
totally get you. I totally could hear you. I could totally feel you. I could feel the restriction, how the restriction is like having all those walls up and blocking things.
yeah.
So that's that tug of war. I talk to clients. I'm like, oh, you have a tug of war going on. And then it's like, they'll say, I do, because we'll start talking about things. And I kind of pointed out to them, this is what, this is what I'm saying. This, you want these things. So you want these people to be able to come in here and hear your voice because you know that you can help them. But at the same time, you're like restricting it because it's like, this is all foreign to me. And then all these other emotions that are coming up. And when you were saying that stuff, I could feel it closed up, and then I could feel it. Heart opening is exactly it, really. Because now that I'm doing a lot of this different, following these different teachers and stuff, it really is about the heart opening, which is funny because I know that I'm on this right path, because for the longest time, for the last couple of years, it's been, I couldn't feel my heart that much. I couldn't feel that space because I had buried it and protected it, and it was under Fort Knox, and nobody could get in, and all these things. And it's like, now I've opened the space up because it makes me stronger. It doesn't, I'm not stronger by keeping it closed. I'm restricted. And that one, now, if you're an instructor or a teacher or whatever, and I'm coming into your class and you feel restricted, then I feel when the information comes over, it feels uncomfortable.
Yes.
So there's a few psychic mediums that I've listened to for a long time that I can't listen to them right now because they feel uncomfortable, because there's restrictions, because they have their, and it's not because they're bad people. It's just that they have these feelings going on that they've got things to work through. So that's, gosh, I'm processing so much stuff right now. So just think about that, being that person, being from a child, and you're having all these natural abilities that you can see spirit and all these things. And then all of a sudden people start putting these restrictions on it. You're not supposed to do that. And some people have been smacked across the face for, don't be talking like that around anybody else, because they don't want to draw the attention for this kind of behavior. So all these restrictions. So I don't know what kind of growth these people have had, but I could feel the restrictions in them. So when they're talking, it's like so uncomfortable for me that I can't even listen to them anymore. I just can't. And it's even like someone that's singing a song. It's everything, because it's even for music. Everything is, you've just pinpointed exactly what's going on, because there's restrictions for everybody. If they're playing music and maybe they don't agree with the tones, or maybe they don't agree with the words, but that's the way it was written down, and that's the way this is going to get more attention, whatever. I don't care what it is, but I can feel the restrictions from that. I can feel it. It's uncomfortable. It's grating on me. It'd be like someone standing around scraping chalkboard all day long, grinding their teeth across the spoon. I don't know, playing with cotton balls, because cotton balls would always have been my issue in the past. But like all these things, I was probably buried in cotton at some point in my life, in a previous lifetime. So,
yeah.
but I mean, all this process. So it's huge to go through this process that you're going through right now. It's huge to take the time to look at yourself and have an understanding about yourself. Why are you experiencing these things? Because the more that you open up, you can take a deep breath. You don't feel like your solar plexus is all blocked off. And now it's like, it feels different. Even when the psychic medium was working with me, because I went to go talk to her through Zoom, so I didn't really go anywhere, but she says, I felt when your energy opened up. And now I'm realizing, because we don't realize unless we're paying attention, like we'll hold on to things, like we're holding on. I'm waiting for her to say something that's going to really get me. And then when we're doing that, we're trying to control things and we're restricting things. So that, I mean, this is beneficial for people that are giving readings, people that are receiving readings. It's for all that stuff, singing music, doing a class. This is for everything. Working on yourself so you remove those restrictions. It's not working on yourself. It's enjoying yourself, getting to know yourself.
And even through the class that I did on Saturday, the tension, I could feel it. And even
That's
before,
right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Before the class started, I could feel, I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, girl, what's your deal, man? You've talked about this stuff so many times. You're okay. And I would relax, but then it would creep back in. And during the class, I could feel myself. I'm trying to pull my shoulders down. And that's just, that's the stress and tension. Yeah. It has to do with the voice,
Yeah.
throat chakra. It has to do with getting it right, being judged and criticized, because there were a lot of women in there that's in the program, right? In
Yeah.
the program we're all in. And so being amongst your peers and it's like, oh, are they gonna be judging me and criticizing me? And it wasn't a conscious thought. That is not at all what I was thinking. I was totally focused on, you've got this, you've shared this information before, you're just following a new structure, and it's okay. There's this practice. Like, I was giving myself these pep talks, but the internal layers, because they're still in there, and this is a great great awareness that, those layers of being judged and criticized and being good enough, and the perfectionism, and those layers are still there, and they're just showing up. And that's what that tension was for me. And I knew it. And I was like, listen, we're okay.
Nope. You
And I
cannot shut
wasn't.
down this voice. That's
Yeah.
what I'm hearing. You cannot shut this down. This is
Right.
I'm singing to you guys right now.
Right. Right. And so I did it. I made it through it. I'm still alive. Check it out. I'm still alive and breathing. So that's a good thing, right? So, so each time we practice something like that, where it is, it feels uncomfortable, you've done it before, but you still have this angst, this rigidness, this awkwardness, like, it's your body. It's a form of the fear showing up that it's not safe to do it. And when you step through it and you do it anyway, and you're like, oh, look, it's okay, I'm okay, then the body gets used to that. The brain and the body get into congruency of, oh, it's okay if we do something new. It's okay if we practice this. It's okay if people show up, and you know what, if they have nobody said anything negative, but if they did say anything negative, it's not about me anyway, it's about them. And so it's a practice, because we have so many layers in our body of that fear stacked on top of each other, because of the amount of years that we've been here in the physical body, that it's just, it shows up and you do it anyway. It shows up and you do it anyway. It shows up and you do it anyway. And then it just gets easier and easier. And then you're just like, oh, this is piece of cake. Not a big deal.
And how did you feel? How did you feel after you were done? It felt good, huh?
It it was like it was similar to what I just said. I'm still alive.
Oh, well, I would hope for better than I'm still alive.
Everything's good. Like, it's good. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It really is, because that was the first of many. That was the first of many using that type of format. And the more I practice, the better I'll get. It's no different than just teaching. At the beginning, when I was starting my teaching process, I wrote down everything I wanted to say, and trying to, read it and talk and read it and talk. I'm like, this is so awkward and uncomfortable. There's got to be a better process. But the more I practiced, the better I got. And now I might jot down a couple of highlights, but I can go in and teach a class. I could teach a class all day and not have any notes all day.
Because you trust.
Yeah.
You trust the whole process, honestly.
And more than half the time, the information just flows.
Yes.
Right. And so it's not my logical mind looking at my notes and then talking. It's just a flow. And it's easy. So I know this will get easier too. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. No, it's almost like Suzanne Giesemann, like, so when you're in the flow of things like that, and she'll even pause and she'll like look off to the left or whatever. She'll like, yeah, I'm asking my guy.
Yep.
And we're no different. We're doing the same thing.
Right.
We're just not saying that out, like Oh, okay. So what they're saying is, and
Right.
then they bring her information all the time, all the time.
And I do that once in a while when I say, what's the words? And I pause and I listen. I'm like, oh, here we go. And then
Yeah.
off I go. Right. So,
Yeah. Or sometimes look up, like sometimes I'll be like looking at you, or I'll be talking to someone, and then and I'll be processing what they're saying. And I'm like looking up, like, which is funny, like I'm gonna see the words up there or something like that. But all of a sudden it just comes in, I guess. So
well,
it's
and
just
that,
kind of funny.
for our audience to know, like your third eye is like a kind of a look up with our physical eyes.
Yes.
And so that's where what we would call the movie screen is for seeing those images or seeing those words or seeing like a little kind of like a movie scene. So to me, I do that too. Only I look to the left and up. I'll look, similar. Like we all have,
Yeah.
we all have our little movie screen somewhere or our connection. It's like
Yeah.
we're like, oh, I got to tune in here. What's that?
Yeah. But that's where awareness comes into play. That's how we know.
Yeah.
So funny.
And everybody has it. That's what we talk about like almost every week. Everybody has this
Everybody.
ability, this connection, this I call it a spiritual GPS. Like we all
Yeah.
have it.
It's like if you have, and we've had so many people transition, like you said earlier, for us to draw us to that space, to be curious. God, there's got to be something more, because you miss that person so much. It feels like part of your is part of you is missing, but it's like that part of you is never missing. It's always there. They're right there with you this whole time. And to be in that space of that knowing and being able to have that communication and do all that stuff, that's for everybody to have. It's nice to go see a medium because that's your confirmation. But when you can start hearing their voice and they're talking to you, and then if you think you're going crazy and you still want to go see a medium and find out, what they're saying. Like, am I going crazy? You're not. It's just like being able to hear all that information. It's just knowing there's so much more. And that makes it more fun too. It's like, okay, then what do we do while we're here? No matter, and that also solidifies the fact that even when someone transitions and you feel like a relationship wasn't resolved and there was problems, or you left on bad terms, it was never left on bad terms, because left on bad terms sounds like that was an ending. And there was never an ending, because we never die. We just drop our people suit.
Yeah. Yep. And all of it's okay.
And it is. And then we can have more fun here while we're here. Then it's to have more fun. Like, what can we manifest?
Right. And we're supposed to be creative. So what can I
Yes.
create?
Yes. That's for the greatest good of all. It's not just mixing animals and people and all this other stuff that, Atlantis they had fallen off. The Atlanteans had fallen off, and this power that they had maybe got bored, but it's like, there's so much more that we can be done.
Yeah.
And there's so many people to help, to be there, to be that light for not just for the spirit world, but we're also lights for the people that are here.
Yeah.
It's fun. How can I serve today?
Yep. How can I serve today? Yep. It's beautiful, huh?
It is. It's all easy stuff. It's easy street. Because then we can joke around like, well, I'm just gonna die. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna die. I mean, I could die. Yeah, but there's no. I mean, then it's like laughable, because then it's not that the finality that we've been feeling, or that we've been made to believe, that we're separate, because we're not separate.
It's interesting you brought that up. The way you said it triggered me is we just watched a movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about part of the scene was this young girl is with this guy, and he's a recovering addict or trying to recover, and she feels guided to go get a tarot reading, and the death card shows up, and in the conversation it was about her boyfriend's gonna die, and so what she did and this had to do with a life lesson for another person who was involved in all this, because he was struggling because his son had died from addiction. So what she did is she married the guy, her boyfriend, and then got pregnant. And that was like part of the ending was, instead of being in fear and being sad and focusing on the negative and the words of the psychic, having this tarot reading, she did a positive thing. She loved him. She married him. She got pregnant to have his baby. And it ended up like towards the end of the movie that everybody was happy. There's a lot of drama in the movie, but then towards the end, everybody's happy and everybody's getting along. But they're playing like tag football, and he just drops dead. And the whole thing was live life anyway. Live and love and make the most of it with your time that you have with the people that are in your circle, in your family, those close-knit ties, whoever you're, have connections with or want to have connections with, that live and love anyway.
I like that.
Yeah, it was great. I was like, actually, I was surprised. I was surprised at the ending. I was like, well, that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
Especially with what we talk, what we talk about things or how we talk about all this stuff too. It's just totally, that's awesome.
And really, if the movie writers, wanted to get into the spiritual realm, they could continue on with, the dad still connecting with the wife and the child. How fun would that be?
Yeah. And how they really help, and how much we don't listen to their guidance. Because I've even heard another, I think it was Mavis, and she's even talking about loved ones, because she was doing a Help Families Heal segment, and she was doing she was talking about how sometimes when she talks to the spirit of a child, the child's like, well, she keeps ignoring me. I give her hugs and kisses and all these things, and she just ignores me. And she's like, she's like that. She's that bridge between these two worlds, right? So she's even telling that person, no, that's in spirit. No, they're not ignoring you. They just don't notice you right now because they're still going through this grief. They still feel that you're separate. They're still looking for you in the places that you were, and that you're not where you are now. I mean, there's so much bigger to that whole picture.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing, I'm freaking excited about this journey.
I am, as it continues to evolve and unfold, and things just seem to get better and better. I'm just like, okay, what's next? Yes. What are we gonna do now? So
I love it.
What group of people are we helping now? I don't know. Yep.
So true.
It's been a lot better, a lot easier.
I just had a bunch of butterflies, like 3 or 4, there's 4, flying around together in a circle outside my window.
Cool. Nice.
They've been, tis the season.
Well, butterflies are about transformation also.
Yes, they are.
Go figure.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And now my bird that always shows up with a yellow belly, it's a she, but it's a he. I know. It's awesome.
Cool. So cool. All right. Well, I think we're complete for today.
I think we're complete for today.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we thank anybody who's watching the replay or been with us live. Thank you for your time and energy, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you. And we just hope that we've brought something forward that will help you on your journey. So we wish you many blessings. Make it an incredible day, moment by moment. And you know what? Be sure to share us with other people who you think would benefit from it. Because we all need that lift up, right? We all need that breath of fresh air, something new, something different, to hear it differently. And so if you know somebody who might be struggling or just seeking, new information, then here we are.
Because this is freedom, right? This is freedom. This is freedom right here.
Yeah.
Being in that space of recognizing where you put restrictions on yourself and freeing yourself from those restrictions. It's
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful week.
All right, my friends, thank you so much.